Hello everyone and welcome back to not Zomboland Gaming. So a little bit different today. So I was feeling super duper completely unproductive today whatsoever. I was feeling a little bit down, just typical mental health stuff, just feeling lonely and just didn't want to get nothing done. Didn't want to do chores, didn't even want to watch TV, didn't want to play video games. I was just bleh. So I decided I needed to force myself to get up and do something. And it's one of those things that, like, you have to have some sort of hobby, some sort of interest, something that is going to make you feel a little bit more positive, and just give you kind of a kickstart to, like, make the rest of your day go a little bit better, right? So I decided to finally get up and play some guitar. And this is one of those things I kind of try to do once a week. I set myself a goal and an exercise, and this in front of us is that exercise, basically. So whether it be just taking a look at like something like this right here, which is basically just a list of scales and a list of chords, how to build the chords, how to build the scales, and I'll pick one scale and then pick one of the letters of the scale, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? And I'll try and then come up with some sort of riff, some sort of harmony riff on my guitar or on my piano, whatever, and then try to come up with a lead line on top of it. And then sometimes it'll just be literally just a piano or a guitar or just guitars. But then other times, like in the case of this, I'll add in other instruments like violins, cellos, drum sets, saxophones, trumpets, the whole shebang, right? It all depends on how I'm feeling or what I'm doing. But the goal is to take 8 measures using a particular scale and then coming up with something. 1, it's a good exercise in practicing your music theory. 2, it's just kind of fun. Sometimes you come up with these ideas that are like, holy crap, I can use that to make a song, or this might sound great, or you just completely forget that you even created it in the first place, and it's off in the ether of my hard drive somewhere that I'll never ever look at again. But so what I did here in this case is a couple days ago, I've been playing around on my guitar and I came up with a riff, and I wish I could actually play it for you on here, but here's what happens because of my amazing Blue Yeti microphone that, while good for my vocals, is terrible for picking up guitar. I mean, not even picking it up, right? I can set the direction on it to where it might pick it up, but it's very flaky at trying to pick up ambient things like your guitar. And I don't have an audio interface to actually plug my guitar up into my computer to record with. So I rely on things like this because, I'm by myself, so I can't play multiple different things. I mean, I do have a looping pedal, but the battery just died and I don't have a spare DC power jack for this particular guitar pedal. So I ended up using this program to, 1, like I said, practice music theory, and 2, just to like get a general idea of the direction of something I want to go with. So I had this riff of just chords, so the harmony of a song, and I figured, okay, you know what? I want to be productive. I want to get my brain space back into a more positive light, and maybe that'll help me to go like do the dishes, even though I'm not gonna do the dishes. So here's just an example of my thought process behind an exercise that I do once a week that I think is a pretty cool idea, right? Once again, the rules are 8 measures at a minimum, picking a scale, and then you don't have to stick to the scale, right? I mean, like, that's part of the benefit of music. It's all about feeling and emotions and whatnot. And we have these rules and whatnot with music, and it's a language, just like any other language. But you can deviate from that. It's fun to, like, try out that, to, like, see what you can deviate from or stick to a scale. In the case of this, I stuck to a scale. But I'll kind of show you my process for how I work through this. And generally, they only take 10, 15 minutes or so, but it's a good exercise. So over here on this page, we have what's going on here. So I came up with this little riff. And what you see in the first 2 measures here are the beginning of that riff. It's just the basic chords in just a quarter beat, emphasis here. So I've got an E flat, an F minor, and I didn't actually even signify that this is an F minor. Let's just do this just so we can see this a little bit better. And that followed by a D flat, and then the next measure over here we have E flat repeated, F minor repeated, and then we've got an A flat. So these chords by themselves, just like this, start like this. So very, very basic chord progression. There's no additional like suspended seconds or fourths, no added ninths or 11ths. They're not seventh chords. They're just basic major and minor chords, right? This is just like anything in life where you start off with the base ingredients and you want to mix in extra things to then make it something grander. So what I do is I figure out, okay, I've got this chord progression. Well, the next step is I want to make a lead line, a melody. Well, how can you make the lead line a melody if you don't know what notes you're going to be following against, right? So what we have to do is take those chords down and figure out what notes are inside each one of those chords. So in the case here of this E flat major chord, we start off on an E flat note. That is our root note. And then we add to it, in Western music, for those of you who don't know, I'm getting way ahead of myself because this is not the topic I wanted to go into. I do plan on having some theory videos and stuff too, but for right now, this is just something that excited me today and I'm feeling good about myself, so I wanted to show you. But chords are basically made up of 3 or more tones from a scale. In Western music, we generally use 5 notes or 7 notes out of a 12-note scale. So if you look at a piano, you've got the white and black keys on a piano. The black keys are going to be a sharp or a flatted, depending on how you want to call them, note of the previous one. So if you start off on the C, which is a white key, the black key right next to the C is going to be a C sharp or a D flat. Depending on what scale you are, it's the same exact note. And then you would go to D, D sharp or E flat, E. Then you don't have a black key, it goes straight to F, F sharp / G is a black key, G, blah, 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 so on and so forth, right? So when I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we're talking in a particular scale, what note in that scale I'm playing. So in the case of this E flat major chord, we've got an E flat, a G, and a flat B. That's the first, the third, and the fifth, and that makes up a major chord. So what we have here is, let's start off on the right note, and that's what it sounds like, right? So once I figure out each individual chord, what all those notes are, I put them in an order like this. So this is as they appear in here. So if I start from the E flat, go to the F minor, then the D flat, this is where the notes first appear. So it sounds something like this, which is already a melody in and of itself. But then what I can do is I realize, oh, there's 7 notes there. Great, that's exactly how many notes I need in order to figure out what kind of scale I'm using. Generally, with the way I tend to make music, a lot of the time, the first chord I play in my progressions is normally the root of the scale that I end up playing in. Not all the time, but in this case, it happened to be true. So if I put the notes in order, we start off like this. So we got E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat is an octave up. And that ends up being what's called an E flat Mixolydian scale. And where the name becomes important is that if you look at these notes, if you were to rearrange them in a different way, say starting off on the A flat, can I please have my A flat back again? Thank you. If we start off there, we get the same notes, but it sounds a little different. Like you hear that slight difference? There's just a slight little difference. And the reason being is because if you look at your piano again, between a white key to a white key is called a whole step. Between a white key and a black key is called a half step. Well, there's 2 parts on a piano that don't, on any instrument actually, that don't have that black key in there, and there's a white key to white key that's a half step as well. So depending on how you arrange your notes, whatever note you're starting off with, you're going to change the scale degrees. You're going to change the intervals between each one of those notes, and that comes important when you want to try and add melody to a harmony or harmony to a melody, either direction, right? You want to make sure that the notes are fitting in such a way that they emphasize either the certain portions of the melody or certain portions of the harmony so it sounds pleasing to your ear. And so if we look at the A flat major scale, which is the same thing as the E flat Mixolydian, you'll notice we have right here at the end, we have everything seems the same. All of these from 1 to 6 are the exact same interval. But right here at the end of our scale, we have a half and a whole step difference. For the major scale, the 6 to 7 has a whole step, and then it's a half step to start back over again. You get this sound. But if you go over to the Mixolydian scale, we've got that 5 to 6 is a whole step, but then we go to a half step with a 7. So it's sound, you can hear that just slight difference. And that makes it really important for when you're trying to, you know, to make solos and stuff like that. So then what we're basically doing here is, I've now figured out what my scale is. I know what mode of the scale I'm using. So now I kind of have an idea of what notes are going to fit within each chord as I'm playing along. And so I want to figure out, okay, now what's my next rules? What are the next things that I want to make sure I'm doing to emphasize the harmony? And so what I decided, my one rule was going to be that I wanted to emphasize the third tone of whatever chord is currently being played. So in the case of an E flat major, this third tone here, let me stop messing with things here, is going to be a G. And then if we move on to the F, it's the A flat, the D flat is an F, and then the A flat is a C. So we get something kind of like this. So now we have an idea of where we want to go with this. So then I start just playing around, because that's what a lot of it is. When I'm coming up with melody lines, it's kind of a little bit between emotion, what am I trying to convey, and then also a little bit of theory. So in the case of this, my rule was I had to have a third somewhere inside each one of those chords. Me being lazy like I am, I decided just to put the third at the end of every single measure where that chord was being played. So in the case, I got G, A flat, and then there's 2 measures that I'm playing the third chord each time. So the 3rd and the 6th chord, I'm basically playing 2 measures of each. So then we have all the way here at the end. I didn't want to make things repetitive because we have the E flat and the F chord being repeated again. I kept that the same to give us that repetition in the thing to make it, you know, so you know it's musical, right? You know, it kind of gets your ear because you're like, oh, I've heard that before. But I didn't want to make it exactly the same. So I didn't want to do this same progression here for the A flat like I did with the D flat. So I changed it up a little bit. I'm still emphasizing the 3rd here, but then I end up a little bit different. I actually emphasize the 5th and the 6th of the chord to kind of give some spiciness. And so this is what this melody sounds like by itself. So now I have a melody, right? And of course now I need to figure out a rhythm that's going to go on top of that melody, so that way the melody and the chords that I'm playing are, you know, one, not boring and just duh, 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 duh. You know, I wanted to have some sort of swing to it or whatnot. But obviously this is sounding kind of ballady and all that sort of stuff. So that's where this page comes in. So let's zoom in a little bit here for hundo. We can ignore where the actual numerals are. That's just tablature, so it lets me know exactly where to play on my guitar. And if it looks a little bit strange for you that, hey, like this isn't an E flat, it's because I use a different tuning on my guitar. I'm in drop C tuning. So where an E flat would be on a normal guitar, mine is, you know, 3 down, obviously. So basically what I have here is this is the rhythm I came up with. And it pretty much is repeated throughout the entire thing, with the exception of when I play the 3rd and the 6th chords. I change the rhythm up just a little bit, just to give, you know, some dynamic to it. And then I've got my melody down here, and then to add some extra interesting elements, I essentially took a violin, and so the acoustic guitar and the violin are playing the exact same thing, just doubled. So now you have the benefit of just the nice sound of a violin and how you go across the violin's fretboard. And then I needed some bass, so I just took a cello and I'm playing just the root note of whatever chord is currently be playing. So it's very basic cello. I could have gone through and done some other stuff, but this is just typically one of those quick exercises. It's not like you're trying to like really finesse something here. It's just quick theory exercise for me. So it's just basic root notes. And then I am not a drummer whatsoever. So this is just a very basic drum pattern. I mean, my only real fill here is on the end of each 4 measures. I'm just playing a tom fill, like nothing special. So if we zoom back out again, and then we can look at the whole thing here. Hopefully this will sound okay. This is the first time I've recorded this on the computer, so I'm not really sure if the sound's going to be okay, but hopefully it will be. So this is what it all sounds like when it all comes in together. And like I said, basically I started off with 4 chords of a riff I'd played on my guitar, figured out what notes there were, created a melody emphasizing the 3rd note of the whatever chord, made the rhythm fit, added some extra elements like the violin, the cello, and the drums, and this is what I came up with in about 10-15 minutes. So, I think it came out all right for something being so quickly put together, pretty much relying mostly on theory. When it came time to, making the melody, I mean, I was actually playing on my guitar, and then I have like a little cheat sheet in front of me here that has, I don't know if you can see this, basically I just figured out with my guitar tuning where all the notes are on my fretboard, and then I colored them in to make myself known, okay, this is the 1st, the 2nd, 3rd, the 4th, 5th, the 6th, or whatever of the scale, because I have the world's worst memory ever, and yes, my fingers have learned muscle memory for some of these scales, but yeah, I also forget them a lot of the time, so I end up playing notes that are outside, and this is clearly not jazz, so playing wrong notes is not all that times great, especially when it's not repetitive. But yeah, so I just kind of I was feeling productive and feeling good about myself, and this was one of those things that for my mental health stuff, helps me get grounded. If I'm having a really crappy day or just feeling blah or hating myself or whatever the mental case may be for the day, it's just one of those things that kind of like, it puts me back on the ground. I'm focused on something that I'm very interested in. Even if it's not like the greatest thing in the world, it's still cool to me. And it helped me out. So then I ended up doing the dishes, the thing that I absolutely hate the most in the world. I did the dishes. I watched an episode of a scientific show and played a little more guitar and felt pretty good. So I was just excited to share about it, because it's not just music theory. It's also mental health awareness. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things that it helped me out, and maybe you have a hobby, or maybe you have something like, reading a book or going out and taking a walk or something that, like, as hard as it is to do sometimes, you got to get up and just do something, even if it's for 5 minutes. And it really does make a world of difference, and it's one of those hard to put into practice things, but I'm glad I did it, because now my day has gone a whole lot better. So, and I got to share this all with you guys. So I do plan on doing actual music theory stuff. A year and a half, 2 years ago, I put a sheet music theory video out that I had done with a camera aimed at my monitor. It was horrible quality, and I plan on redoing it now that I have a way to capture my actual monitor properly, and I have a nice microphone and whatnot. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and just felt like sharing. So everyone, take it easy, take care of your mental health, be kind and caring to everyone. Oh, this world nowadays, more people need to be kind and caring. That being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you Wednesday for Satisfactory. And I don't know how often we're going to do this. It'll probably be just the whenever I decide to do this kind of deal. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Have a great day. Ta-ta. Bye-bye.